Got my new manifolds in the mail today. Here's the part number. Those are for the center riser, which is what I have, so let's open them up and check them out. Here's what we're dealing with. There's the new manifold. Looks really nice. Hope it works good. And then here are the new gaskets, new bolts with a drain, and then the plugs for the cast piece. So anyway, we'll try it out, get out and put together. This new manifold is all prepped up now. I got 3 plugs in on this side, 4 plugs in on this side, and then also the drain slash, I suppose that's a fill. So that should be ready to go on the boat. I got one more to do, and then we'll give them a test fit. All right, well, I got a mess here, but I got my second exhaust manifold fully outfitted with all the ports closed and everything. So I'm just going to take some brake clean and wipe these all off, all the mating surfaces, make sure there's no grease or anything on those. It came with gaskets, and then I'm going to clean the side of the cylinder head and see if I can't get these tossed on. Alright, so before I put the manifold on this side, I put my battery in really quick just so I could just test fire the starter, at least just bump it, so I knew it actually rotated and everything was good and there were no fires, so that's awesome. And so I wasn't sure if I had the starter all hooked up, so I got on the Mercruiser Facebook page. Thanks, Joe. So he confirmed my wiring was right. So yeah, I was able to bump it over and just bump it quick, and it looks good. So hopefully tomorrow, it's late already, hopefully I can get my manifolds on and keep going. I got the starboard exhaust manifold installed onto the cylinder head, and I didn't record hardly any of it because it was mostly all butt crack because that thing is actually really heavy, and just getting it up there with the gasket in between and getting that started is kind of a chore, so just stick to it. You don't want to be smashing any spark plugs or anything like that, so that was kind of a chore, but it's up there. You torque the bolts down on my model to 25 foot-pounds, so I'm gonna see about getting the other side on. Alright, so the headers are on now, or manifolds I guess. Boy, they're heavy. I feel pretty confident they went on all right. I'll probably put some oil in it at some point here, just so I don't forget, and then finish out the exhaust, and there's plenty to do yet. Alright, so here are the riser pieces, and so I took them off, took a Scotch-Brite wheel and kind of cleaned them up. And I have new gaskets, and I'm going to put those on. Make sure the manifolds are nice and clean, this top surface, brake cleaner. And I'm going to slap them on there and see what it looks like. So I was just going to put these risers on, and I totally spaced the fact that I actually do have Corsa Captain called the side or through hull exhaust deals or whatever they're called. So I got to put those on there before, well, I don't have to, but I think it'll be easier to put them on there before I put the riser on. I'll put this little Y pipe in first. Okay, so here are the cutouts. Obviously they're not perfect condition anymore. They're kind of old. Stickers are wore off them and stuff, but I kind of tried to clean them up best I could. Not best I could, decent. And so now they're ready to go on with all the fingerprints. So one on each side, and then this is the little actuator that runs. Let's see if I can scratch everything here. This runs the butterfly valve inside to open up the exhaust. It's just like cutouts on a car, so kind of a cool little thing. The ricer side of me really likes these. Okay, so I had to do this twice because, like a noob, I put the wrong cutout on the wrong side. So I put the port one on the starboard side, and then so I had to redo this all because the solenoids go on the outside, not on the inside, and that was my mistake of remembering. So anyway, but basically undo most of the hose clamps there so that they're real loose, and that gives you enough wiggle room to get it into the little Y section there. And then then you put the Y section in first, then the riser, bolt this all down, and then now I got my hose here, and I got the other hose put in down there. And then on the side here, this riser has those studs on it, and that's for the all this linkage business here. So I got to put that up, and we'll keep cruising. Well, I just added my fuel filter here. The number is not visible, but anyway, I added the fuel filter on. Got my oil filter on there, filled it with oil. I put 5 quarts in it just to start with. Obviously none of the oil pump, or well, maybe the pump, but none of the block basically has any oil in it. None of the top end really has any oil in it, so it's going to drain it down. But it was said that it was, full as of right now. Got the other side of the exhaust put on. Got my captain's calls plugged in, or whatever the exhaust cutouts are called, plugged in. There were a few wires in the back. I had to consult my my service manual there to make sure I had those all right. But besides that, I think I'm basically ready to crank it. It's not going to start, obviously, because I don't have a cap or wires. But I do want to just see if it'll turn over. If it doesn't, we're screwed. So I'd like to at least see that. And now that it has oil in it, there's really no harm in doing that. So we'll see what happens here. Oh yeah. Okay, well, at least cranked. That's good. Sounds maybe a little weak, but I think that could be just my battery's a little tired. I was sat all winter. Next thing is going to be plugs and not plugs, wires and rotor and cap. And then if I have everything hooked up right, it should fire off. I filled the fuel filter with fresh fuel, so it shouldn't be like completely starved. It's still going to take a minute to fill the bowl in the carb. And I also obviously filled the oil filter with oil. I'll check oil again now that it's cranked a little bit. And I got the finest oil that could be purchased. Dude, got me some of the good stuff. So anyway, but yeah, you want to use a conventional oil, is my understanding, for like a first fire type thing, no synthetics or anything like that. And so anyway, that's what I got. So the next thing is, this is a new cap and rotor. This is for just kind of one of your tune-up type things. Obviously this is my old cap, and if you see down there, you can see all that buildup and gross on the ports, and I probably could just scuff that off of there and maybe it would make it a little better. But honestly, the thing ran pretty good, and by pretty good, it started key only. So I'm hoping to retain that level of reliability. I mean, things started really, really nicely and ran really nicely too. So, but mostly this is just crunched out big time. So just kind of one of those tune-up deals. So I got a new one, and we're gonna get this thing on here. I also probably should have gotten new wires, but I wasn't sure exactly how long they need to be or any of that fuss. So I'm just going to ride with what I got for now, and if it is suspect later, we can change it, but this will work for now. So here's the new rotor. And so I'm not sure how it comes off of there. I think it just pulls off, but we'll find out right quick. Okay, now it's seated down there, right? And then I'm gonna kind of pull this up, make sure I didn't take the spring out of that. And so that has to obviously touch the top of the cap. So I got my battery hooked up now, and we'll see what happens here. I kind of have my doubts, but if it fires, I'm just gonna let it run for literally like a second.
6.5 hours later.
Okay, so I've been pulling my hair out here with the boat engine here. We got starting fluid and spark plug testers and wire testers and everything out here, trying to figure out what was going on. And I'm not positive, but I didn't have 12 volts at the coil. I kind of dialed it down to the fact that my coil, that purple wire on the right there, you should have 12 volts there when the ignition is on, because that powers the coil and the rest of the ignition system. Well, anyway, long story short, I got my dad out here and we were brainstorming, and he's like, well, is it something stupid, like, you know, like the shifter is out of neutral or something? Like, no. And then I walk up there and I saw this little guy, that little switch there, which no one in their right mind would touch except for a kid that's about 2.5 years old that was playing with the Minions and pulled the front off of my radio and probably pushed every other switch up here. So that was off this whole time. So hopefully that was 90% of the problem here. Okay, so noob mistake number 2 here. Originally when I put the distributor in, I had number 1, the rotor pointed at number 1 here, generally. And that's right. However, then I was just cruising right along and trying to be methodical about what I was doing. And I took all of the wires off of the old cap and put them on to the new cap where the numbers are, you know, number 1 on 1 and 2 and 2 and so on and so forth. Well, anyway, basically the issue is for number 1 on the cap, marked on the cap, like the number 1 post to be number 1, the housing would have had to been way screwed off and like turned completely weird and not the way it was supposed to be done. So instead, all I did was, and thanks to my buddy Bryce for talking some sense into my head here, but basically number 1 obviously is number 1. That's where we set the post, and then you just work from number 1. I have him laying out kind of weird right now, so I know which one is number 1. So it goes 1, 8, 4, whatever the order is, all the way around clockwise like that. And basically this post, I don't even know what this post is labeled. It's labeled number 6, but it's actually number 1, 1, 8, 4, blah blah blah. Go all the way around and you're good to go. And so yeah, did that, and we'll give her a pop and see what happens here. All right. So I got this little deal from mercstuff.com. Basically, it's just a plate with a couple threaded holes in it, and you hook the garden hose up right here, and then this mounts to the bell housing with, I think, the bolt the stud that's just upper and to the left. I'm not positive, but anyway, you bolt it on there, and basically it roughly seals against the bell housing so it can you can run your engine. So I'm gonna get this thing hooked up and give it a shot.